It's California Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance. We are at 23 ABC in Bakersfield, and we are joined by Leticia Perez. She is a member of the Board of Supervisors in Kern County. I'd like to speak with you about your beautiful county, which for so many years has been so critical to the economic health of this state. When you think about agriculture, you think Kern County, and the county has struggled a bit in the weight of the drought. And talk to us about how the county and even your district is struggling as we kind of march through the drought and the improving economy, which is improving a little bit.
Well, when you think of the fact that we are the #2 ag-producing county,
right,
you certainly get a sense that the relevancy of water, access to water, and the impact on our local economy is quite profound. This year, 1 million acres will be fallowed. From last year and this year, 17,000 jobs lost, a big deal, $2 billion hit to California's economy. Unfortunately, in an area that we are profoundly hit with. So the need to think big about diversifying our economy, right, I think is bigger now than ever.
And I want to hold up a map of Kern County. The areas in red are those areas whereby we have dramatic unemployment. Unemployment at rates that are much higher than the state average, well over 9%. And incomes also well below even Kern County's average income. And then I think about your district. Here is Bakersfield. You represent kind of the area to the east of it. It's all red. Talk to me about your constituents.
You know, we live in either the poorest or the second poorest congressional district in the United States.
Really?
Yes. And so the educational attainment levels, ability to leave a deeply impoverished, multi-generational sort of a cultural reality is really tough for our young folks in particular. The access to the American dream, upward mobility, these components of really reaching a place of sustainability is less accessible to families in my district than many parts of the country.
And what's remarkable is when you think about Kern County, generally speaking, entering into the real estate market is fairly affordable when you compare it to other parts of the state. But sadly, even with that affordability, individuals in your district, for example, aren't reaching the average income to get into an average entry home of only $170,000.
That's correct. If you make some comparisons around the state and you say, gosh, somebody in Orange County would look here and say,
right,
wow, that's a dream.
Right.
But when you look at the concentration of poverty as it exists in my district in particular, you see that access to real upward mobility is a challenge. And so, looking at the fundamental causes, addressing issues at their roots is really critical.
And let's talk about some of the fundamental causes. One of them being what we call a youth disconnect.
That's
Tell
correct.
us about what that means. What is the import of that term?
Well, Bakersfield has just been identified as having the second highest youth disconnected rate in the country. We're very, very close behind Memphis. They're 22.6, we're 22.2.
Okay.
So give you some context
Sure.
about the condition of our young people. So that's young people ages 16 to 24 that are neither in school or employed. And so are just sort of out there floating without direction, with the American dream seeming further and further away.
Right, and so you are a big proponent of job programs, of programs that would get them into employment either through gaining skills or other types of connections. I want to talk about a couple of them. There's a new program called 1 + 1 + 2 = Game Changer. Tell us about that.
Well, one thing we're learning across the country, but certainly concentrated in a place like my district,
right,
is that young people are having a difficulty connecting with the relevancy of education,
sure,
seeing it as being important to their own ultimate, future outcomes. And so getting in early with young people is really critical to help them see the connection, help them see the relevancy, and also identify various paths that they can take that aren't always necessarily part of the high school curriculum.
Right, so tell us about one of those paths. I think it's critically important that we recognize that while college may be the ultimate goal, it's not the goal for everyone. And a blended version, a hybrid version of college may be appropriate.
That is exactly right. And you look at an economy like Kern County, and so many of our folks are high dollar, blue collar,
Right.
and really have the ability to make a very good living,
Sure.
own a home, increase the achievement gaps of their
Right.
children by being homeowners, and in so doing, obviously transform the community. But here we have what I think is an overemphasis on the academy, and it's important. I'm
Meaning,
educated,
when you say the
academic
academy-
pursuits.
Got it. But academic pursuits are important.
Yes.
At some level, for some positions,
Yes.
not all positions. But what I love about the Game Changer program is you're trying to kind of blend a non-traditional academic path.
That's correct.
And so under this program, as I understand it, you're in high school, but you're also taking some community college, and you could kind of advance that quickly.
That's correct. So we're repurposing some professors and counselors out to the actual location, which, for Kern County is a very rural community.
Right, of course.
And so access is always an issue. So taking our junior college out to our rural communities, it's called BC, so we say we're taking BC to Arvin, and we're
Right.
really going to explore with the young people the many, many paths, be they vocational,
Right.
many things they can do with just an AA. Many young people will determine later in life they want to stay in school or go back to
Right.
school. And so working at the same time is a reality for so many of our young people. So just really highlighting all of the paths and all of the possibilities that exist that are not just the one straight shot to college, which we know is not a one size
Right.
that fits all.
So what is Bakersfield College doing to be part of the solution? I know you're working with them. But
Absolutely.
Give us a better sense.
Well, they really have, their new president, Sonia Christian, has
Right.
really, really demonstrated an honest heart for the rural parts of our community, recognizing that access is such an issue, transportation is such an issue. So really repurposing those professors. This is her proposal that she
nice.
brought to us and said, would you
Nice.
consider it? We said, absolutely.
And it was recently passed by the Board of Supervisors.
That's correct.
I want to get a sense, though, in a lot of ways, this community is blessed to have a Cal State here.
That's correct.
Cal State Bakersfield is in this community. Even though we know that Cal State may not be appropriate for all, is there a way to bring that institution into the conversation, be part of the solution?
Well, absolutely. And they have an extended university that's very broad in the way in which it thinks about career paths for young people and really adults that are reentering education or skills training. So they are part of our coalition that is launching a juvenile and youth job readiness program.
Tell me about that. I wanted to ask you about the job readiness program.
So one thing we've identified clearly across the country, but in Kern County especially, is a skills gap in entry-level positions often, and really more sophisticated arenas as well. But culturally speaking, we have such a low college attainment and low success rate, generally speaking, that often our young people really struggle with understanding what are the basic expectations of an employer, how to behave, how to
Right.
dress, how to act.
And you mentioned the cultural expectations, and for better or for worse, different cultures put premiums on different education levels. Again, we don't want to make too much of that issue, but how do we change the thinking a bit when it needs to be changed?
Well,
if it needs to be changed.
Absolutely. One thing we need is exposure to the realities of what are the mores in the workplace.
Right.
If you're not exposed to it, you're not going to know. And this was a reality for myself growing up
Really?
in East Bakersfield, very poor family. My father was a farm worker. I ended up attending UC Santa Barbara out of high school, and boy, what a shocker,
Right.
leaving East Bakersfield to Santa Barbara. And so one thing I'm really passionate about is helping young people understand what is expected of them in the workplace. Even if in their own communities they don't see a lot of it, certainly if they walk into an interview, they're going to be expected to be dressed appropriately, to be dressed conservatively, to be respectful, leave your cell phone in the car.
And that's part of the job readiness program.
That's correct. That's the soft skills.
Her name is Leticia Perez. She is a member of the Board of Supervisors in Kern County. We are 23 ABC in Bakersfield. My name is Brad Pomerance, and we thank you so much for joining us on California Edition. It's so interesting to bring that up. I've had a few people